Somebody was asking about this yesterday. Doing this. Correct? Okay, so how you do it is, so to your point yesterday, if I do this with my white arrow tool, they pull all of them, right?
Yeah.
So what you got to do is click off it, make sure nothing's selected, then just loop over the corner you want to do, and then just pull it. That make sense?
Yeah.
So real simple. So if I want to do it down here, just loop over. This, you just got to activate the corner you want to do by itself with the white arrow tool. That time I did it wrong. Why did I do it wrong? Because I did it with the black arrow tool. That's why.
Okay.
So if I go back here, go back to my white arrow tool, loop over this. Now just do the one. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my swatches, just my regular swatch palette, and I'm going to go drag this into here. And you can see it, put it in there. You see that?
So you just click and drag it, right? Just
Yeah,
to-
sort of like we did with the symbols.
Got it.
But I'm just going into the swatches. And I'm going to go and I'm going to get this, which is my pattern options. Okay. Now, I have to group this again. I don't know why. Once it gets in here. Okay, that's fine. And you can see it's got a little box around it. So I can pull these. I'm going to hold shift so it constrains. And then I've got these options over here for grid, brick by brick, brick by column. So all these different ways it can do that. Okay, so now I've got this, okay? So now I can go down here and how they overlap is what these are. So they're changing the way they overlap. Yeah? Where'd you guys go?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what the overlap is trying to do.
They're just overlapping, see it? Now this one's in front. Now if I hit it this way, it just went slightly behind that one.
Oh, okay. Got you.
They're just overlapping differently. Now I'm going
Got
to
it.
this, hold shift and push this. If I push it down this way, they'll get away from each other a little bit. It's pretty simple, okay? And when I'm done with it, I can either double click off here or up there it had a done thing. And then what happens here, when I have that swatch checked, it'll just create a repeat pattern like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool if you're doing, especially if you're doing like textile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, go ahead.
So you dragged that. Would that be considered a vector, the skull?
It is a vector.
Okay, so you dragged that into the swatches panel, and then from there,
Double click the swatch.
Okay, sounds cool.
And this is one of those tools where I just want you guys to get in there and play. Because it's pretty self-explanatory once you know how to do it. Now, again, I'm going to go back to this again. Because today I'm talking about a couple things that now relate to this. Hang on. Remember I was talking to you guys about style guides?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to relate it back because I want to make sure these all make sense. This is what they give you in a style guide, which is what that is. Okay, so let's take this now and go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a square. I'm going to get rid of that. Try this. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to ungroup this. Let me just fill this up. And so on and so forth. Oops, it's not on fill there. And now when you're doing a project, oops, it will automatically repeat no matter what you do. That make sense?
Yes.
So there's my Halloween candy bag pattern, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about those tools, this distort and transform. There's also this thing here. Okay, so let's get I don't have any good typefaces in my Windows machine. I gotta fix that. Now look, I accidentally made it all lowercase, so I could go up here and go to up to type and go change case, sentence case. I could do that, or I could go type, oops, type, change case, uppercase, you know, so on and so forth. Come on, let's change. I don't know what happened there. Hang on. Right here under, okay, so here's that. I'm going to go up here to effect warp. And let's just do arc. So these will do a bunch of really standard things that you do with in, you know, just standard effects, right? So I can bring it down, bring it up, go more horizontal, more this way, so on and so forth. I can go arc upper, arc lower. And then, you know, you have these sliders. So you make sure it's on preview. Effect. I can do the flag one, wherever that is. Flag. This is really handy. You see this stuff all the time, and I don't want to reinvent this wheel. It is what it is. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like that. Now, if I go, okay, I like that. Again, look at, see how it's hanging on to the information? Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go to, now, if I want to screw with that, I could go to appearance. And here's warp flag, click that, and it'll come back up. And I can continue on, okay? Or I can just throw it away and get rid of it. But once I'm done with that, I can go object again, and go expand appearance. And now it's just a whatever you call it, a shape. Does that make sense?
So does expand appearance mean converting it into a shape?
Yeah,
That's what that always means.
pretty much.
Okay.
What it is basically is Illustrator has used a filter. It hangs onto the original information of that shape, but it's got the filter applied to it. And I don't really need that forever usually. If you do, you do. And then I just convert it to, I just expand it, and then it's back to being a shape. It doesn't eat up as much space. It's just a less complicated thing for me to deal with, and so on and so forth, right?
Mhm.
What you have to do when you're going to export this is I go file, and we'll get into this other stuff later, but in this case, I'm going to say it says export for screens. So this will give you some parameters around that. Or file, you guys should be using export as, or save for web. And now it's going to come, this is black, so it's not really going to give me any stuff, but what it'll do is it'll say web save colors and all that kind of stuff.
Sorry, when would we, what's a example of a situation where we would want to use rasterize? When we
Well,
want,
if you're gonna almost pretty much, okay, other than me sending it to the printer. And even then, I'm usually what the printer wants is a real high, they want this. Okay, wait, let me finish what I was saying. So export, let's just go to export as. And I go, okay, this is, I'm gonna export into the, where the hell's my desktop? To the desktop. Here's my, I'm gonna export it as, let's just say a JPEG. Then I go export. And then, okay, is it gonna be for screen? If it's gonna be for screen, I'm gonna switch this to RGB, which is what you guys should be doing with mine. So let's switch it to RGB. I don't know why I'd want this any lower than maximum. Compression method. And then screen here, if I'm sending it to a printer, it's going to be 300 dp or 300. Does that make sense?
yeah,
And then I hit OK and I export it. So that will just give them the right size to print. And that's going to be based on the size they're going to print it at, right? So if I know it's 12 by 12 inches and I build the thing in here 12 by 12 inches, well, that means they can go, if they're at 300, they could go this much. I mean, they can go way bigger. Okay, so it's fine. That's going to be fine. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Now, the only time, and then if I'm going to give it to a printer, a lot of times what a printer actually wants, actually, this is what they're going to want usually, is they're going to go, now you have to do this under save as, okay, which is weird. To me, it should be under export, but for some reason you have to do it under save as. And I go save as, save on your computer. And then I'm going to drop this to PDF. And then I'm going to go save. I don't know what that, I don't want that. Okay, it's going to give me this. And I'm going to go to press quality. And then, you know, I'm going to dial in anything I need here. Here's the compatibility. These other things, those are like codexes or whatever. I don't really need to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities for this, optimize for fast web view, whatever. And then I'm going to say save PDF, and that's what I'm going to send the printer. Does that make sense?
yeah.
They usually want a press quality PDF.
Well, is it normal for printers to tell you like what specifications they're looking for, or as a designer, you're supposed to already?
You
Yeah.
should basically know, but I always have, everybody's a little different.
Mhm.
It's all basically the same, but you know, they might go, hey, we like this or we like that. Now, again, like when I had multiple print vendors, I would have that conversation with them. It was all very, actually, here's what I normally would do. I would talk to them. I'd develop a relationship with the pre-press person. And I go, what do you need? And they go, I kind of like this, that, and the other. And then I go, I'm going to send you a sample file of how I like to lay things out and take a look at it, and blah, blah, blah. And they'd usually, I'm the client. So normally, if it's not something outrageously stupid, they'd go, yeah, it's fine. Or they'd go, can you add this in there? And I go, yeah, it's fine. I don't care about that. Just some simple thing. Then I do the same thing with all my other vendors. And usually they'd just basically be like, yeah, that's fine. Or, but can you add this? And sometimes I'd say, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't really think it's necessary. But most of the time, you know, it would be basically set up the way I want. But I'm in the driver's seat there because I'm the client. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this real quick. All right, so that pattern thing makes sense, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just going to show you a little thing here. So let's make this green. I'm going to go to effect, to that same one we just talked about. Go to warp. And I'm going to go to, let's go to flag. Only I'm going to switch it to vertical. I can get a little bend here. And I'm going to expand appearance. Object, expand appearance. And then I could just start build. I'm just going to build a, I would build a flower here. Does that all make sense? So I could use that to do that. That's all I wanted to say about that, right?
Yeah,
I could also go. And I could do the same thing with this if I want to put a leaf on here, but make it a little less rigid. And let's try wave. You know, and I could do something else with it. Does that make sense?
it does.
Just to break it up. Okay, so I already made one of these. So I have it here, right? But I turned it this way, okay? Because for this particular thing, something vertical like that works pretty good this way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to brushes, and it's the same routine. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to drag it over here, and it's going to go, what kind of brush do you want to make? And I want to say a pattern brush. I'm going to say, okay. Oops. Oh, that's right. Now I'm going to get this window. And there's things here I can change. Like if watch this little trail. When I say flip, flipped it the other way, flipped it up and down differently. You can tweak all these things, add space to fit. I'm gonna leave that in there just for the hell of it. Now, for right now, let's just leave it at fixed. And I'm gonna just leave it there. Now, let's get rid of this. And now I'm gonna grab, let's just grab a brush first. You see what it's doing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so fun.
It is fun. Okay, look, and then let's do this. Go to our brush panel again. Here it is. Now let's make it smaller. Can make patterns out of it. All this kind of stuff. Yeah. Now let's go back to this again. You guys see how they're using this?
Yeah.
Like here. Do you see now how they're starting to recycle things? You can see how they're recycling elements.
Tons of it.
Yeah.
It's all what it is. Okay. Now, what does that do? It also creates a style guide that's very coherent or very cohesive, right? Visually. I mean, I can make a border like that real easy with it. So here's what they're starting with, just the little icon things. That's cool. Look at that tree. That's cool. I love looking at these things for their design solutions. They're just cool. Look at that. This right here is that one we did before. We just duplicate it, right? Now, if I take this, let's see. I'm going to now take, I'm on a tablet. So I'm going to take this and see if there's any sensitivity to this. There isn't. Okay, so you can see it's flat. Okay. So let's go back into this. And I'm going to go from fixed to pressure. And then I'm going to go, the way I think this works right here is like how the pressure affects it at the front end. So I'm going to make it, and then how pressure affects on the back end, I think, if I remember right. And you can change these things. It's another thing you're going to have to get in there and play with. So I leaned on it harder here and it got bigger. So let's try this. Barely leaned on it here and then I leaned on it hard here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now. I'm going to push this one way up and push this one way down, see what that does. Ended up with one, basically. Okay, that time I'm barely touching it. I'm barely touching the keyboard or the screen. Now, I'm gonna go real light and then push harder, okay? Oops. And then lighter up here again. Real light. Look, it's barely making a mark if I barely touch the, look at that. That's kind of interesting. Make sense? And let's take this one. Let's take the vertical one. And let's go here. And we just did a pattern. Let's do a scatter brush. Now, we have more of these here. Now, when you switch this to pressure, it means now it can be based on tail, bearing, rotation. I usually just go to pressure. The spacing is going to be based on pressure. The scatter is, I'm gonna put everything on pressure. Then I got all these, I'm gonna go smaller and bigger. What this is saying is by my pressure is gonna affect the scatter, whatever it is. And I'm really just randomly doing this. I'm not really thinking about it yet. And then rotation, let's do that. And this is all fine. Let's turn this off. Go to my brushes. There it is. Now it's up here. Scatter brush, okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave this stock. Let's see what that does. Okay, that makes no sense. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so it's literally just kind of scattering, right? Yes.
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 So let's go here. I want to see what I can play with here. I'm going to go pressure, 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 and let's not do anything. Let's just go to pressure. I'm going to go size. So if you notice here, I'm going to go real light and then real heavy. See what I did?
Yes.
So you want to go in here. Now let's go, here's the spacing. So let's see what we can do with that. I'm going to go smaller. I'm going to go the opposite way. And based on how, and look at that. Now, if I go light and then heavy, see what it does? So what it's doing there, it goes light. God, Wacom sucks. The spacing is, it's, I think on the front end, it's lighter and then gets heavier on the other end, I think. Let's go scatter. Let's go, let's be, and I'm going to pull this one down again. So the heavier I push on it now, this is very light. I'm barely touching it. Then when I push it real hard, it scatters out more. So let's go light and then scatter. Or go real light and then push down hard. And that's what it does. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Now, that's not going to work with just a mouse. And if you don't have a tablet, that's fine. I still want you to play with them because you can still do a lot of things with them. But you got to put them on that pressure if you want to have that ability. Or, you know, you can put them on rotate or whatever to mess with them. Just going to leave it. I'm going to do it like this. Let's just see how this works. And let's do a scatter brush. If I stop to think about this, I'd be more coherent, but the spacing, I'll leave that alone. Actually, I do want that to change. The scatter, I do want it to change. I'm just going to start there. Rotation, I'm not going to work. Okay, I'm going to go to my brush. And shrink this down. There. So right now, it's mostly, that's real light. This is real heavy. Light to heavy. So we're getting that. Now I'm going to go rotation. I think rotation is important. So let's make it. So that's following it now.
Yes.
So this, look at that. That's pretty nice right there. So I could come in here and I can get these things where they would follow, basically follow my hand if I want, like that. And then if I lean on it hard, they get bigger. If I go lighter, they go smaller. So it's another way you could kind of build a tree or grass or whatever you want to do, or whatever. Instead of the symbol tool, right? And then let's do one more. Let's go. This will be a weird one. I'm going to show you something else with this later, so it'll make more sense, but still, I want you to play with all of them. So let's go here. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And let's go turn this on again. Let's use this one again. Let's go to brushes. Let's drag it in there. Now we're going to do an art brush. I'm going to go. There's a bunch of, I'm going to go pressure. I'm going to go, I think smaller on this end and bigger on that, I think is what it'll do. You can play around with the tints and shades. I don't very much. Well, I'll do the first just without it. And then you can flip it, how it's carrying itself across. You have to play around with that. See how it's showing it going the other way? I want to do that. So let's go. Let's turn this off. Go up here. See now how it's using it more in like kind of a funky shape way.
So you could say that art brush is like a stylized pattern brush.
I think it's more. I'm going to show you how to make something else out of it on Monday. And then it all makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, basically, I don't know, maybe I could go, let's try this real quick. Man, join, control join. Just try this for the hell of it. Hang on. Still not used to Windows. I'm just putting it here to save it. Wait, how did that? So let's try this. I'm going to shrink it a little bit more. Now I'm going to try this with the art brush thing. I'm going to go a little smaller. Let's go here. Drag it in. Art brush. Okay. You know, we'd name it up here. You know, I'm going to stretch this. Now you can change all these, okay? Scale proportionally, stretch to fit stroke length. Let's try that. That's actually what I want, I think. I want pressure. I think I want it. Let me try this. I'm gonna leave everything else as is for now. See that? Let's go real small. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see if I go real light and real heavy. Yeah, see it? And then I could go shrink this down. Because what I was thinking is you might be able to do, or this is at least the starting point. Pretend this is a good looking tree. Let's go really small. And I could build like a cool little bark brush with this. That make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
let's try something here. Let's go to tints and shades.
What kind are you using?
What kind of what?
Tablet.
This one's a Wacom 16. Okay, so I just changed the tints and shades, so let's change it again. I don't know how by the way, check out the Huyans, check out the, what's the other one? XP pen. I've tried them. I think they're fine. Okay, so I changed the tints and shades. So let's go tints. So now it just goes lighter. Is some that'll change it, will just vary. Let's do hue shift. Let's try that. I don't like that. I'm gonna go none again. I don't think that I can, let's see. Oh, yeah, I can. So I could switch now. If I lean on it, it gets bigger. But you see how I can make a nice little, texture brush or whatever out of this? And it's going barely touching it, leaning on it heavy. Really cool, thin, thick line stuff. So that's the art brush one, okay? If I barely touch it, I almost just get a regular drawing, just a real cool drawing brush. I think I can go even smaller if I do this. So you could make a really nice drawing brush and just freehand draw in here. Right? I'm actually doing an illustration for the restaurant where I'm going to do something sort of like this. So where I can freehand a lot of it to get a more natural look. Okay, I'm going to give you guys this Vector Tone by Retro Supply. Okay, so what that is, it's a halftone thing, whatever you want to call it. Halftone brushes, okay? Or swatches. So let's go back to our swatches. And it's just like when you load a brush, you go to the swatches, you go open swatch library, other library, go find it, desktop, Vector Tone. Then you just go to the swatch libraries. I just go to the latest, go double click that. Now I'm going to get this. And when I go Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of that. When I pull a shape, I'll get a halftone pattern. Right?
Yeah,
Or the,
So,
go to the flyout menu, open swatch library, open other library all the way at the bottom. Go find it. It's in here. Vector tone.
Okay,
Then I
Yeah,
go to
and you're gonna
swatch
give it-
libraries. This other stuff, it has an installation instruction, so it does have that. And then I just go to swatch libraries and I double click. I use the CS6 because that's the latest. And then it'll give me another palette. Okay, so then I could take this. Let's just grab anything. I don't think I have anything. Let's take this. And if I wanted to halftone it, let's do a regular halftone. I'd probably have to find an overlay for it. Oops. For some reason, my windows are all screwing up. I don't know why. Hang on. Let's go. Transparency. You know, and I could find that screen's actually not bad because see how subtle it is? You guys see that?
yeah.
Or I could go to a different one. It disappears basically. No good. No good. Multiply would probably work, but I'd have to pull it back. Let's get it about there. And I get a nice little halftone idea.